The city lights stretched endlessly beneath us, glittering like a promise I was about to make real. I checked my watch for the 5th time. "She's just late," I muttered, trying to convince myself as the candles flickered in the wind. My heart raced every time I heard footsteps from the stairwell, but it was never her. Finally, the door opened. Lena stepped out. Red dress, flawless makeup, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're late," I said. Half-dash smiling, she looked around the rooftop. The table I'd set, the music softly playing. "You really did all this?" "Of course," I replied. "It's our night." She nodded slowly, walking closer. "It's beautiful, Ethan. Really." Her voice was soft but distant, like she was talking through glass. I pulled the small box from my pocket, my hand shaking slightly. "Lena," I began, heart pounding. "From the moment I met you, you've been my Ethan," she interrupted. I froze. Her tone cut through the moment like a blade. She sighed, looking away. "I can't do this anymore." The words didn't register. I blinked, half laughing. "What are you?" "Joking?" She shook her head. "No, I've been trying to say it for weeks. I'm going back to Adrian." The world stopped. "Adrian?" My voice cracked. "You mean your ex?" She nodded once, eyes cold. I laughed, because the alternative was breaking down. "You're kidding. The guy who cheated on you. The one who understands me," she finished quietly. I stared at her, the city blurring behind her figure. "Understands you?" My throat burned. "After everything we built, you're walking away." Her lip trembled slightly. "You're a good man, Ethan, but you're not." "Not what?" I snapped. She met my eyes then, steady and cruel. "You'll never be enough for the life I want." Something inside me cracked. Rain began to fall, slow at first, then harder, as if the sky couldn't stand to watch. I didn't move. I didn't even close the ring box. "You could have told me before. I spent months planning this," I whispered. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said. I laughed bitterly. "Then congratulations. You failed spectacularly." She turned to leave. "Goodbye, Ethan." The sound of her heels faded against the wet concrete. I stood there, drenched, watching the raindrops hit the velvet box still open in my hand. The diamond glinted under the dim rooftop lights, a cruel joke from the universe. Behind me, the stairwell door creaked. Daniel's voice broke the silence. "Dude, what happened?" I didn't look at him. She left. He stepped closer, umbrella in hand. "Left as in what do you mean left?" I gave a hollow laugh. "She's going back to her ex. Said I'll never be enough." Daniel cursed under his breath. "You've got to be kidding me. I wish I was." I stared at the skyline, the city glowing like it was mocking me. He stood beside me quietly. "You want to talk about it?" "No," I muttered. "There's nothing left to say." Rainwater mixed with tears, maybe both. I couldn't tell anymore. The candles went out one by one, until only the city lights remained. After a long silence, Daniel said, "You don't deserve this, man." I forced a smile. "Apparently, I do." He shook his head. "You gave her everything," I whispered. "That's the problem." Daniel exhaled, tightening his grip on the umbrella. "Come on, let's go home." I didn't move. My fingers tightened around the ring box until it hurt. "Go ahead. I just need a minute." He hesitated, then left quietly. Alone. I looked out over the wet skyline, the sound of thunder rolling far away. The wind whipped my soaked shirt against my skin, but I didn't care. "You'll never be enough, Ethan." Her voice echoed in my mind, cruel and sharp. But as I stood there under the pouring rain, I realized something painful. She hadn't just broken my heart. She'd killed the version of me that believed love was enough to build a life on. And in that death, somewhere deep inside, something else began to stir. Something colder, sharper. Waiting to rise, asterisk, the mornings blurred together after that night. I woke up, stared at the ceiling, and waited for the pain to dull. It never did. The city outside moved on without me. Cars honked, people laughed, but my world stayed frozen on that rooftop, bro. "You've got to eat something," Daniel said. Knocking on my door one morning, "I'm not hungry." He opened the door anyway, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. That's what you said yesterday. And the day before. I turned toward the wall. Then stop asking. He sighed and placed a mug beside my bed. You can't just rot in here. I'm fine, I muttered. Yeah, you look great, he said sarcastically. You haven't showered in 3 days. You smell like heartbreak and caffeine. I glared at him, but the corner of my mouth twitched. Nice? You practicing your stand-up routine? If it gets you to laugh, maybe. He tossed a pillow at me. Come on, man. Lena doesn't deserve this much of your oxygen. The sound of her name still burned. He groaned. You're really gonna let one girl turn you into a ghost? She wasn't just one girl, I said quietly. Daniel fell silent. For a second, the room was filled only with the faint hum of rain outside. You really loved her, huh? Yeah. I stared at the cold coffee on my nightstand. That's the problem. Days pass like that, muted, heavy, empty. I'd wake up late, scroll through my phone, and flinch every time a notification popped up, thinking maybe, just maybe, it was her. It never was. Her posts filled my feed. Beach trips, champagne dinners, Adrian's arm around her waist. I told myself I didn't care, but the truth? I couldn't stop staring. One night, Daniel caught me scrolling. You seriously still following her? I threw my phone aside. Don't start. He snatched it off the bed, thumbed through, and said, Dude, block her. Delete it all. This is masochism. She was part of my life, I whispered. Deleting her feels like pretending it never happened. He shrugged. Or maybe it's just survival. I hated that he was right. That night, I opened her profile one last time. My thumb hovered over her smile, the same one I used to wake up to. Goodbye, I muttered, and hit delete. Every photo, message, and memory vanished into silence. When the last picture disappeared, I sat back and waited to feel something, relief, anger, anything. But all that came was emptiness. Daniel poked his head into my room. You did it? Yeah, he nodded. Good. Now maybe you can start breathing again. I looked at him. You think that's how it works? He grinned faintly. No idea. But it's a start. When he left, I walked to the mirror. My reflection stared back. Tired eyes, unshaven face, dark circles carved beneath them. I looked like someone I didn't recognize. Who are you? I whispered. The man in the mirror didn't answer. I turned on the sink and splashed cold water on my face. If love failed me, I muttered, maybe ambition won't. The words came out rough, but something in me shifted. A tiny spark. Fragile, but real. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The blank screen glowed like a challenge. Note, drafts, unfinished projects, all the things I'd abandoned stared back at me. Daniel called from the other room. You working? Trying, I said. Now, that's progress. I smiled faintly. It wasn't much, but it was something. Hours passed without me noticing. The world outside stayed dark, but inside, the silence began to feel less heavy. I wasn't healed, not even close. But for the first time, I wanted to be. And maybe that was enough. The sound of keys clicking became my new heartbeat. My apartment turned into a war zone of cables, coffee mugs, and sticky notes. Novalink, that was the name. My escape. Bro, you've been up for 30 hours, Daniel said. Walking in with 2 steaming cups of coffee, 32, I corrected without looking up. He groaned. And you say, I'm addicted to games. What's the point if you code yourself to death? I rubbed my eyes. The point is not dying broke. He dropped onto the couch. You're impossible. I'm focused. He raised his mug. Fine to your madness. From your loyal chief coffee officer, I chuckled. Chief coffee officer? That's a terrible title. Yeah, well, it's unpaid. You get what you pay for. We laughed. The kind of laugh that keeps you alive when the world forgets you exist. Weeks blurred. Code. Rejection. Debug. Repeat. I'd pitch. Novalink to investors who barely looked up from their phones? Interesting concept, one said once, but unrealistic. You're too small to compete. Too small. Too young. Too broke. I heard those words until they carved themselves into my skull that night. I met Grace. She'd been consulting for a startup next door. She watched me struggle with a projector that refused to cooperate. Technical issues? She asked, smirking. Story of my life, I muttered. She walked over, clicked one button, and the slides appeared. You're welcome. I blinked. You some kind of tech whisperer? PR strategist, she said, crossing her arms. But I know how to make chaos look presentable. Then you're perfect for me, I joked. Her brow lifted. That's so? I hesitated, realizing how it sounded. I meant for Novalink. I could use help. She studied me. You've got drive, she said. It's messy, but it's fire. Fire, good. Just don't burn out. I'll risk it. Good, she said with a small smile. Because the world only remembers the ones who survive the smoke. She started dropping by once a week, offering feedback, tearing apart my presentations, building them back better. Your pitch sounds like a love letter, she said one day. Maybe it is, I replied. To who? To the version of me that still believes this can work. She didn't answer, just smiled softly. Daniel stayed my rock. He'd toss me snacks, make sarcastic comments, and blast music to keep the genius alive. Bro, if this app fails, he said once, I'm selling your empty Red Bull cans on eBay as modern art. Call it desperation in aluminum, I said. He laughed. You're insane. Maybe that's what it takes. Rejections piled higher than the code I wrote. Every no stabbed, but every no also taught. Investors laughed, critics doubted, but I kept building. Some nights I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. My eyes burned, my fingers ached, but I couldn't stop. Then a message. A beta tester wrote, Your app helped me connect with my team faster. Brilliant work. I reread it 5 times. My heart raced like I'd just run a marathon. Daniel. I yelled. He stumbled in, half asleep. What? Fire. Alien invasion? Feedback. Positive feedback. He grinned. Finally, someone besides me believes you're not crazy. For the first time in months, I smiled without forcing it. Grace called later that week. I saw your update. You're making progress. Slowly, I said. Progress is progress, she replied. Don't forget to breathe. Breathe. I laughed. I'll rest when Novalink trends. Then I'll start planning your funeral, she teased. When she hung up, I leaned back in my chair. The monitor glowed in the dark, reflecting a version of me I barely recognized. Tired, stubborn, alive. For the first time, I realized something. I hadn't thought about Lena in weeks. I whispered into the quiet room, maybe this is what healing looks like. The cursor blinked like a heartbeat. The code waited. And so did I, ready to keep building. Asterisk, 2 years. That's how long it took. 2 years of sleepless nights, broken code, and stubborn faith before Novalink finally went viral. Ethan. Daniel's voice cracked through the morning silence. 1 million users. He burst into the apartment, waving his phone like a trophy. I blinked, half in disbelief. You're kidding, he grinned wide. Check the dashboard, man. We did it. I opened my laptop, fingers trembling. The numbers glowed like something unreal. 1 million active users. Notifications exploded. We actually did it. Daniel popped open a bottle of cheap champagne. Correction, you did it. I just supplied caffeine and bad jokes. Yeah, I said, laughing, but the sound came out shaky. You were my fuel, Grace called a few minutes later. You're trending, Ethan. Every tech outlet wants an interview. How does it feel to be the underdog who bit back? I smiled faintly. Tiring, I said, but worth it. You earned this, she said. Don't downplay it. The day blurred into flashes, cameras, lights, microphones. People asking about vision, innovation, passion. But all I could think was how none of them had been there when I almost quit, staring at a cracked phone screen and an empty fridge. At the celebration dinner, Grace raised her glass. To survival, she said, Daniel added, to the guy who once coded for 48 hours straight without blinking. Don't remind me, I said, grinning. My eyes still burned thinking about it. Grace leaned closer. You finally made it, Ethan. I looked at her confident, sharp, grounded. Yeah, I said softly. Finally, later when the crowd thinned, Mr. Howard arrived, the mentor who'd believed in me when no one else did. His suit was neat, his tone calm. Congratulations, he said, offering a firm handshake. Couldn't have done it without your push, I replied. He gave a faint smile. Be careful, Ethan. Success can chain you just like failure did. I frowned. You think I'll get complacent? No, he said. I think you'll get consumed. Don't let this define you. His words lingered even after he left. That night, Daniel sat beside me on the balcony, city lights flickering below. You look miserable for a guy who just made history, he said. I'm not miserable, I murmured. Just empty. He studied me. Still thinking about her? I hesitated. Sometimes. But it's not the same anymore. It's like remembering a ghost. Daniel sighed. Then maybe it's time to stop haunting yourself. I thought success would fill it, I said. That it'd silence everything she broke. Maybe success isn't supposed to fix it, he said quietly. Maybe it's just proof you survived. His words hit deeper than I expected. I looked down at my reflection in the champagne glass, tired eyes. A faint smile, a man rebuilt but not whole. In the distance, fireworks lit up the skyline. People cheered my name online. Headlines called me self-made, visionary, the comeback kid. But inside, all I felt was a quiet ache. I whispered, survival feels different than I thought. Daniel clinked his glass against mine. Still beats drowning. I nodded. Yeah, still beats drowning. As the lights faded, I finally understood success fixed my finances, not my soul. The ocean shimmered outside my window as morning sunlight poured across the resort balcony. Aurelia Bay, my dream made real. The smell of salt, the hum of waves, it felt like peace I'd earned. Sophia walked in, tablet in hand. Guest list for next week's VIP arrivals, she said. Looks like we're fully booked again. I smiled faintly. Not bad for a place that started as a sketch on a napkin. She grinned. You've come a long way from coding in your kitchen. Before I could reply, Grace burst through the door, voice sharp. Ethan, you'll want to see this. She slid a paper across my desk. What is it? I asked. The updated guest roster, she said. Names highlighted in red. Those are the ones we'll need to greet personally. I glanced down. My hand froze halfway through the page. Lena Hart. Adrian. King. The names felt like ghosts written in ink. Sophia caught the change in my expression. What's wrong? I kept my tone calm. Old. Friends. Grace frowned. You want me to cancel their reservation? I can arrange something discreet. I stared at the list for a long moment. The irony was almost cruel. They were coming here. To the world I built from the ruins they left me in. Finally, I said no. Let's welcome them. Sophia raised a brow. You sure? Completely, I said. Every wound needs to see the light eventually. Grace hesitated. You don't have to prove anything, Ethan. I'm not proving, I said quietly. I'm closing a chapter. She nodded, though her eyes carried worry. That night I walked the resort grounds, the soft lanterns, the laughter of guests, the steady crash of waves. Everything here had meaning. Every wall, every detail, carried a piece of the man I'd become. Daniel called me from the bar. Heard about your upcoming guests? He said, half laughing. Want me to accidentally lose their luggage? I chuckled. No need. I want them to see exactly what they walked away from. Closure or revenge. He asked control, I said. I want to see them without shaking. When the day finally came, the lobby gleamed. Grace and Sophia stood ready, staff lined up. I stood by the entrance, composed, dressed in white linen and quiet confidence. They walked in Lena. Elegant as ever, though something in her posture was hesitant. Adrian's grin was polished, artificial. Nice place, he said, glancing around. You The manager? I smiled, calm, something like that. His smirk twitched, unsure. Lena looked at me, really looked. Her lips parted, eyes wide. Recognition flickered like lightning. Ethan. She breathed. I nodded once. Welcome to Aurelia Bay Resort. She blinked, her face pale. You've built this? Every inch, I said. Adrian tried to mask his unease with a laugh. Well, looks like you finally made something of yourself. Looks like, I said evenly. Grace stepped in smoothly, voice professional. We'll have your suite prepared immediately, Mr. King, Ms. Hart. As they followed her upstairs, I watched their reflections in the glass doors. The irony tasted sweet but strangely gentle. Daniel appeared beside me, whispering, Karma came dressed for vacation. I smirked. Let it enjoy the view. When they disappeared from sight, Sophia turned to me. You did good, she said softly. I exhaled, feeling the weight lift. No fireworks. No shouting. Just peace, she smiled. Sometimes silence hits harder. I looked out at the horizon, the sea calm and endless. Yeah, I murmured. It does. Asterix, the dining hall glowed under golden lights, the ocean breeze drifting in through the open arches. Glasses clinked, laughter floated, the sound of success. Of stories being rewritten, Grace whispered beside me, ready for your big night? As ready as I'll ever be, I said, straightening my jacket. Sophia smiled. You built this place, Ethan. Tonight's yours. I nodded, though my chest felt tight. Somewhere in the crowd, they were here. The string quartet began playing. Daniel tapped my shoulder, grinning. Your table's the center of the storm. Want me to act as your emotional bodyguard? I smirked. Just keep the wine flowing. He winked and disappeared into the crowd. I took my place at the head table, greeting guests one by one, investors, artists, travelers, all singing praises about the resort. The lights dimmed slightly, signaling the dinner's start. That's when I saw her, Lena. She entered on Adrian's arm, her silver dress glimmering under the chandeliers, for a second time folded in on itself. Every memory, the rooftop, the rain, the words that broke me, flickered like a cruel echo. Adrian's smug grin cut through the dais. Quite a setup, he said as they approached. Didn't think the tech kid had this in him. I smiled politely. People grow, he laughed. Some faster than others, I guess. I turned my gaze to her. Welcome, Lena. Her hand froze mid-reach. Her lips parted slightly, eyes wide, trembling. Ethan. Yes, I said calmly. It's been a while. Adrian frowned, looking between us. Wait, you two know each other? The air thinned around us. Every eye near the table turned subtly in our direction. Lena's voice cracked. I didn't realize that I'd be here, I said softly. Or that I'd own the place? Her breath hitched. The wine glass in her hand trembled. You built this? Every detail, I replied. Aurelia Bay, my second chance. Adrian's smirk faltered, just slightly. Impressive, he muttered, masking discomfort with arrogance. Grace appeared beside me, ever the perfect PR professional. Dinner is served, she announced, her tone smooth as silk. The tension dispersed like smoke. But the air still hummed with unspoken history. Throughout the meal, Adrian bragged about investments, cars, influence, his words loud and empty. I didn't interrupt. I didn't need to. Every person at that table knew who held the real power now. Lena barely touched her food. Every time her eyes met mine, she looked away, guilt flickering like candlelight. Daniel leaned in from across the table. You're quiet tonight, he whispered. Listening, I said. Silence says more. Adrian raised his glass toward me. To new beginnings, he said, tone dripping with pride. I met his gaze, lifted my glass, and replied, in 2 lessons learned. Lena's fingers tightened around her napkin. The clink of our glasses echoed louder than it should have. As the dinner ended, guests drifted away with smiles and praise. Adrian excused himself to take a call that left her standing alone by the balcony. She turned to me, voice barely a whisper. You've changed. No, I said. I just stopped breaking. Her eyes shimmered with something like regret. I smiled gently, not bitter, not vengeful. Enjoy your stay, Lena. As I walked away, the sound of waves filled the silence between us, calm, steady, and final. Karma didn't roar that night. It whispered. Through my quiet smile, the news broke like a slow-moving storm. Whispers first, then headlines. Adrian King's empire was crumbling. Lawsuits, debt, betrayals. The same sharks he once fed were now circling him at breakfast. Sophia dropped the morning paper on my table. Guess Karma's punctual this time. I didn't look up. It always knows the address. Daniel chuckled, half asleep, coffee in hand. You're not even pretending to be surprised? I expected it, I said simply. People who build on greed forget gravity exists. By noon, guests were murmuring. Adrian had been spotted pacing by the lobby, face pale, phone glued to his ear. Lena trailed behind him, mask of poise cracking with every glance she stole my way. Grace leaned against the reception desk, whispering they're staying another night. Probably can't afford to leave. I smiled faintly. Let them. Right. That evening, the resort glowed under lantern light. From my office window, I saw her standing alone by the reflecting pool. Silver dress replaced by something muted, eyes searching. Clara, her friend, joined her briefly. Voice low but urgent. I opened the window just slightly, the breeze carrying fragments of their words. Lena, Clara said softly, do you even realize whose resort this is? What do you mean? Lena asked, voice trembling. Clara hesitated. It's his. Ethan's. The man Lena's breath caught audibly. No, it can't be. Clara's tone turned firm. It is. He built this from nothing. While Adrian, she stopped. You should talk to him. A pause. Then the sound of heels clicking against the marble. Minutes later, there was a soft knock at my door. Come in. Sighed. She stepped inside slowly, like someone entering a church, reverent, fearful, uncertain. Her voice was faint. You built this. I looked up from the paperwork, meeting her eyes for the first time that day. From the same hands that built that cheap dream? Yes. Her lips parted, but no sound followed. I stood, crossing to the window. Funny thing about failure, I said quietly. It teaches you how to build foundations that don't crack when the storm hits. She swallowed hard. Adrian's losing everything? I know. He's not who I thought he was. I turned to her, expression unreadable. Neither was I, apparently. Her gaze faltered. Ethan, I don't, I said, not unkindly.
Please.
You don't owe me explanations. I stopped collecting them a long time ago. She looked down, voice breaking. I didn't mean to. Maybe not, I interrupted. But meaning doesn't erase consequence. Silence filled the room, heavy but honest. She finally whispered, You really built all this alone? No one builds anything alone, I said. But I built it without you. Her shoulders trembled. For a moment, I almost pitied her, not for losing wealth or comfort, for realizing too late what truly mattered. Clara appeared at the doorway, hesitant. Lena, Adrian's looking for you.
Ow.
Lena didn't move. She looked at me once more, eyes glistening. I never thought you'd make it this far. I didn't, I said. I went farther. She nodded slowly, then turned and walked away. When the door closed, the silence that followed wasn't bitter. It was clean, like the sound of something finally breaking. I'm setting me free. Asterisk, the storm had passed, but the air inside the lounge still hummed with tension. The fire crackled softly, filling the silence I'd grown to love. I was sipping black coffee when the door creaked open. Ethan, a voice whispered. I didn't need to look up. I already knew that voice. Lena stood at the threshold, hair undone. Eyes hollow, her once perfect poise replaced by something fragile. Can I sit? She asked quietly. I gestured to the chair across from me. It's a free lounge. She gave a faint, nervous laugh and sank into the seat. You always make everything sound colder than it is. I stopped decorating my words a long time ago, I said. Her hands trembled as she twisted the ring on her finger. not the one I'd offered years ago, but something heavier, gaudier, already tarnished. I thought I was chasing happiness, she murmured, but I was just running from peace. I said nothing. The fire popped, as if answering for me. She continued, her voice breaking. Adrian wanted everything, money, attention, control, and I thought I wanted the same. I thought love meant being chosen by someone powerful, but he never saw me, not really. Still, I stayed silent. Her breath hitched. Do you hate me? I looked up, meeting her eyes. No, I said softly. Hate fades faster than love. Her lips trembled. You should. I destroyed something good. You destroyed yourself, I replied. I just happened to be standing too close when it happened. She wiped her eyes, voice shaking. I saw your name everywhere. The app, the resort, the interviews. I thought you'd want revenge. I kept waiting for you to show up just to ruin me. I smiled faintly. Revenge is overrated. Takes too much energy away from rebuilding. She exhaled shakily. I envy you. You look peaceful. I worked for it, I said. Peace doesn't just appear, you earn it by letting go. Her shoulders sagged, like a weight she'd carried for years was finally cracking. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not for leaving, for not believing in who you could become. I didn't answer. Some words didn't need responses. They just needed to exist, briefly, before fading. After a long silence, she stood up. I should go. Take care of yourself, I said. The world's rougher when you're chasing ghosts. She gave a broken smile. And you. I stopped running, I said. Turns out peace waits for those who stand still long enough. She nodded slowly, tears glistening under the dim light. Goodbye, Ethan. When the door closed, the echo didn't sting. It sounded like closure. Later that night, Daniel found me by the balcony, ocean wind brushing my face. You could have destroyed her, he said, leaning beside me. I stared at the sea. Why? Life already did. Sighed. You've changed, man. Maybe, I said, watching the waves swallow the moonlight. Or maybe I finally learned that winning doesn't always mean someone else loses. The tide whispered back, calm, endless, forgiving. The morning air smelled like salt and endings. I found the envelope on my desk. My name written in the same looping handwriting I used to trace absent-mindedly on her skin. For a moment I didn't open it. Maybe part of me still wanted to pretend it wasn't real, that she hadn't come, confessed, and vanished again into the noise of her own regrets. But the truth sat there, fragile and final, sealed with ink and guilt. I unfolded the paper. Love isn't about winning, it's about growing. Thank you for letting me go. It's just one line. No apology. No explanation. Just peace. I stared at it, unsure whether to laugh or cry. For years, I'd replayed her words. The rooftop, the rain, the look that shattered me. But this letter, it didn't hurt. It simply ended something that had already died long ago. The tide whispered below. I walked toward the water, the letter trembling in my hand. Sophia called from behind. Ethan. You're up early? Couldn't sleep, I said, kneeling by the shore. She stepped closer, her sandals sinking slightly into the wet sand. That from her? I nodded. Yeah, her final message. Sophia hesitated. You gonna keep it? I shook my head. No, some words are meant to be read once. I held the paper over the lighter flame. The edges curled, blackened, and turned to dust. The ash floated upward before drifting down into the waves. Sophia crossed her arms. You're really letting it go, huh? Finally, I murmured. It's strange. I thought closure would feel louder. She smiled faintly. Sometimes it's not fireworks. Sometimes it's just quiet. The sea hissed softly as the last of the ashes disappeared. Sophia's voice gentled. You okay? I looked at her, really looked, and felt something shift inside me. The ache, once sharp and suffocating, had dulled into a steady calm. For the first time in years, I said, my voice steady. She exhaled, a small smile tugging at her lips. Good, you deserve that. We stood in silence, watching the horizon melt into gold. Waves lapped at the shore like the world was whispering, "It's done." I turned the lighter over in my hand. "Funny thing," I said quietly. "She once told me I'd never be enough." I believed her. For a long time, and now? Now, I know I never had to be enough for her, I said. "Just for me." Sophia nodded. "That's growth." The wind tugged at my shirt, warm and forgiving. I closed my eyes, letting it carry the last fragments of her away. When I opened them, the ocean looked different, lighter somehow, like it had taken my grief with it. I smiled. "Goodbye, Lena." The sea didn't answer. It didn't need to. The sun sank behind the horizon, staining the sky gold as waves brushed against the resort's private shore. I leaned against the railing, watching the place come alive with laughter and music. Daniel's voice broke through the calm. "You've gone soft, man." I turned, smirking. "Soft?" He grinned, holding up a coconut drink. "You used to survive on coffee and code. Now you're out here running a luxury resort and hosting yoga retreats. Who are you?" "Someone who sleeps, apparently," I said. "Tragic," he sighed dramatically. "The great Ethan Vale, tamed by the sea breeze." I laughed. "Don't mistake peace for weakness." Daniel leaned on the railing beside me. "Still feels weird, you know? Seeing you like this, not chasing, not proving." "That's the point," I said. "There's nothing left to prove." He studied me for a moment, then shrugged. "Guess success changed you." "Maybe it didn't," I replied quietly. "Maybe I just stopped needing noise." Sophia appeared behind us, clipboard in hand, her hair tied up in a messy bun. "You two done philosophizing? We've got guests arriving for the mentorship launch?" Daniel perked up. "Oh right, Ethan the mentor. Inspiring young minds and all that." Sophia laughed. "Giving back to the dreamers, huh?" I shook my head. "Not giving back. Letting go." She tilted her head. "Letting go of what?" "The version of me that thought everything needed to hurt first," I said. Her expression softened. "That's actually beautiful." Daniel chuckled. "You're getting poetic now." "Definitely soft." I nudged him. "Remind me why I keep you around?" "For the jokes and moral support." "Also, I'm the only one who remembers your coffee order." Sophia laughed. "He's not wrong." I smiled, but my gaze drifted back to the ocean. The laughter from the event hall faded into a soft hum. "You two go ahead. I'll join later. Don't stay out too long," Sophia said gently. When they left, the silence returned, steady, grounding. I walked down to the sand, feeling the cool grains between my toes. The waves shimmered under the moonlight, calm and endless. For a moment, I swore I heard Lena's laugh, light and distant. Carried by the wind, I didn't turn. Some ghosts, I'd learned, don't need exercising. They just need space to rest. The tide kissed my feet as I whispered, "We're both free now." The wind answered softly, almost approving, and in that quiet I realized silence was the loudest victory of all.